Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. I'm JT, everyone's favorite. And then we also have Frank, Jake, and Lounis, the other guys here as well. We are into the conference championships weeks of the NFL playoffs. This is season 3, episode 25. So with that, we are starting to move away from regular season talk and now more into the off-season NFL draft, rookie talk, and whatnot. But first, I just want to say, hey guys, I don't like the whole awkward "how's it going" thing, so we're not going to do that. But instead, I'm just going to kick it off with the big news of the week. I'm gonna shift gears here. Big news of the week: Aaron Rodgers. He said he's going to take time to make his decision. I mean, same thing with Tom Brady. Tom Brady is much more questionable, whatever. Aaron Rodgers, it sounds like he is going to keep playing. I mean, he'd be leaving a lot of money on the table if he's not. But now reports are starting to circulate that he might get traded. The price sounds like it's going to be multiple first-round picks still for the aging quarterback. And recent reports have the Jets as one of the teams linked to him, saying Woody Johnson would be willing to give up two firsts to go and get Aaron Rodgers. Do you guys, how much are you buying into this? How much do you think it's just classic off-season, we need to sell the news somehow kind of thing?
I think it's legit. I think the news is actually legit. I feel like two firsts might be a smidge expensive, though. I feel like on that deal, because we saw Stafford go for two firsts straight up, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was that and
Goff.
Oh, yeah, and Goff. So they got a quarterback.
They're more paying to get rid of Goff. Really, at the time, he was seen as like bad contract kind of thing.
True. So I guess they got Goff at a huge discount, which in retrospect has been a fantastic deal for them.
Yeah.
But you get an older Rodgers. Because, I mean, Stafford at the time was like 34, 33. Like, at least at the time, you're thinking you're getting a window of like 3 to 4 years, 2 years at least for a run. That is disintegrated now. But I feel like you're getting some sort of kickback if you're giving up 2 1s for Aaron Rodgers. But I think the news is legit.
Yeah, as for the actual NFL value, I understand what you're saying. In terms of the news being legit, I completely think it is. I mean, we've kind of heard rumblings over the past couple of years. And I remember when Brady's last season in New England, like when the rumbling started that he might switch teams, people kind of like dismissed it. They're like, oh, no way, it actually happens. And I don't know, it's like there's enough smoke at a certain point, like it's a legitimate possibility. I'd be a huge fan of him going to the Jets. I think that'd be extremely exciting. If you have Garrett Wilson in any league, you're probably praying for it, or even like a Breece Hall, or really anyone in that offense. I'm sure like Elijah Moore, people who have Elijah Moore are praying for it too. I'd be interested to see how it goes because I think that Jets offense would be really fucking good with Rodgers, which is why I kind of understand the 2 first thing. Because if you add Rodgers to that offense with that defense, you're assuming those 2 firsts are like pretty into the 20s.
Yeah, like, I don't think it's a tough division.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think it'd be like. I'd be less scared of it being like a Russell Wilson situation where it's like you trade those first and then like you're still terrible. I'd have more faith in Rodgers. I'm not saying they're gonna like win a Super Bowl or anything, but I think they're a playoff team.
Well, if you're trading multiple firsts for an aging quarterback, I mean, the idea is we need to win the Super Bowl kind of thing. Like we are all in.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't think it'll be like Denver's disaster.
Sure, but you do have to think like. Even if they do this, I mean, there's still a lot of time, off-season and everything. We haven't even seen who's won the Super Bowl yet. But the Jets are going to have to find themselves fairly confident that they're better than the Bills, the Bengals, the Chiefs, their own division, the Dolphins. I know the Patriots aren't that great, but they still beat them every year. So, like, the Jets need to make the playoffs first with Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not entirely confident that they would. Like, I just think straight up Aaron Rodgers on that Jets team, I don't think they're better than the Bills still. I don't. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's true, but like we see an Aaron Rodgers situation. I mean, not an Aaron Rodgers, a Russell Wilson situation where that failed, but then it's like, what if guys on that Jets team are thinking like, think about Tampa 3 years ago, where it's like you have weapons on offense, you have a good defense, and you just had a turnover-prone quarterback that like killed you every week.
So if you're a contender, are you going out and scooping up Aaron Rodgers at a discount right now, maybe as like a QB2, Because right now, I mean, at least beforehand, I don't know about now, maybe with these rumors circling, the Aaron Rodgers owner is less likely to sell. But I can't imagine if you have him, you're expecting a first round pick. And if you want a first round pick, you're going to have to give a little bit of something on top of Rodgers. So as a contender, I mean, even if, as long as he plays, whether he leaves or not, I feel like Aaron Rodgers will probably be better than he was last year. You know, a lot of the season with the thumb injury, just tons of young receivers. You're thinking that he's at least going to be a smidge better.
I wouldn't say Rodgers is like a definitely don't buy, but I'm still trying to lean on the side of like sell until the hype or sell for what you can at this point. Because I don't think he's worth what he's valued at, which currently is, I'm trying to look on Keep Trade Cut right now. I think it's still kind of inflated. He's QB 24.
That's kind of low.
He's like a late first, early second.
I think it's
there's no way at QB 24 he's still a late first. What's his value?
Yeah, wait. 3K, a little under 3K.
Jake, you're on mute.
That's like a mid to late second.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, so
it's a late.
Aaron Rodgers is firmly in the late. Aaron Rodgers and a mid second for a late first is dead even within 20 Keep Trade Cut points. So at this point, he is basically worth moving up about, I don't know, 8 picks from the second round to the first. Like, he's not worth even a full round at this point, difference in that portion of the rookie draft, at least. So, like, I kind of agree with it. Like, listen, if you're playing Dynasty, sure, he might be a good pickup if you're a contender, but to expect a first-round pick out of him at this point, a guy who's 39, gonna be 40 next season, like, there's just not a lot of hope in getting a first-round pick there. People are too smart to trade for a 40-year-old and give up a first-round pick. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I more so find it interesting. If I'm a contender and really need a QB2, I think heavy about offering that at an early second if I had one.
Sure, value. If you wanted to offer something like 203, I don't have a problem like with it. But I don't even, like, at that point, the Aaron Rodgers owner, unless he's in a hard tank, is going to have a hard time accepting that just because it feels bad, right? You're trading the multi-time MVP for a early second. Like, it's not great. And I know there's a lot of players that you end up having to do that with that it's usually because of age. You know, you see it a lot with DeAndre Hopkins now is right there in that early second range. Like, there's a lot of guys that they just fall off and the trade feels bad and kind of looks bad on paper, but you just kind of still have to do it.
Yeah. I would probably ship off Rodgers for 203 and do it pretty quickly. I think 203 is a little bit of an overpay. I mean, if we're talking about a 12-team league, we were talking about the 15th pick in the draft, right? Yeah. I'm doing math right? 15, 16, somewhere in there?
Yeah, 15.
I mean, done. I'm probably picking up one of those nasty tight ends that are going to be value picks in these just single tight end premium leagues. They always are. Or a really talented running back, or one like wide receiver 5, potentially a Josh Downs type player. Fuck yeah. Give me that. I don't want Rodgers. Not for that price.
Now, Jordan Love's ranked above him. So, like, hey, like, I'd still rather have Aaron Rodgers than Jordan Love in terms of quarterbacks, but he's just in that range of quarterbacks where I don't really want any of them. Like, they're all kind of interchangeable. So at that point, just give me the cheapest one. Because, I mean, it's weird to say, but Aaron Rodgers didn't score 20 points in fantasy once last year. I get the receiving core, yada.
Wait, he didn't score 20 points this season?
He didn't score 20 points in a game. In a game.
That's insane.
What?
His highest was like 19.3.
No way.
Week 10 against Dallas. Yep. So you're just playing for, like, you're paying for a replacement level quarterback, one that you could essentially pull off waivers. Like, if his best game is 19 points, I mean, heck, Geno Smith came out of nowhere this year and scored more than that on a decent basis. Like,
oh yeah,
it's just, I'd rather just take the second and take my chances with just your random flyer of the week kind of thing.
I just think, nonetheless, if you can get an early second after the move, right? Because, I mean, you guys name the price, not me. but let's even just say 205. I think you can transition 205 into just a quarterback that gives you some long-term hope, right? A guy, Mac Jones. I think
no way.
He's ranked above Mac.
Transitioning that 205 and a smidge more and I can get into Mac Jones with 205. I'm very confident that I don't have to give up a ton on top of 205 to go get Mac Jones. If anything, right? And I get a guy who in his second year threw for almost 4,000 yards and over 20 touchdowns. Yeah, it wasn't the prettiest season of all time, but I just rather in Dynasty place my chips in the Mac Jones pile than, I'm going to squeeze another 2 years out of Aaron Rodgers. Or like JT said, just bet on the guy to now be scoring 20 plus a week like Brady was? No.
Yeah. Again, I'm more of just like give me the cheapest guy if you're going to go that route. And I don't want to transition. As a Patriots fan, like I like Mac Jones, but I don't think he's like the long-term solution or anything. So I don't know. I'd either rather pivot down into the likes of Ryan Tannehill, who's plummeted due to his ankle injury. Really, I don't know. I mean, it's very clear that Malik Willis is not the guy. They're literally.
Yeah, it's just the replacement concerns. I think that he's just kind of treated as a Matt Ryan right now.
Honestly, fine, because I think if Ryan Tannehill's not the guy in Tennessee, I think he's getting a job somewhere else, and he's going to be a starter, and he's cheaper. There's other quarterbacks in that similar vein of the likes of a Sam Howell is right there. I'm not going to say he who should not be named Baker Mayfield, but he's there too. There are players below Aaron Rodgers where if you're still looking to score points, I think you're going to get similar amount of points from those guys, and it's just I don't know. It's not worth. I'd rather just pivot down.
Real quick, before we move on to the new topic, unless anyone else wanted to say anything on Aaron Rodgers, two things, because we didn't have this listed as a topic. Well, first off, I want to respond to Peter the R. Is that a new person on the bottom right? I'm sorry that I've missed the past 2 weeks. But I miss you guys. But that was good. And no, second, we don't have it listed as a topic, but are you guys a little bit higher on Mac Jones after the Bill O'Brien hire coming back? I think it'll be good.
Well, look, I mean, anything is better.
I was going to say,
is happening this year. So sure, I think he'll have a bounce back year, just regardless of getting the play coaching out, and hopefully somewhere along the lines they pick up some kind of playmaker that can do something. I mean, Jacoby Myers might. I'm pretty sure he's a free agent. He might walk in free agency. Yeah, I'm sure some team will be paying him, willing to pay him a decent amount, but they have to revamp this offense. It was so brutal to watch that I hope they're willing to fix it.
It's almost like you have a defensive coordinator coaching the offense.
Yeah, look, I don't make the decision, Jake. All right, this is just the team I like.
I want to acquire Mac Jones in Dynasty right now.
I think he's okay, but he's just not going to give you a whole lot.
Here's my reasoning why. Is because this year he averaged a smidge over 15 points per game, which is like solid. I think he finished QB 18 on the year, something like that, QB 20. If that's a bad season for a second-year quarterback, like, okay, so then what's up from there if he gets a good season? 4,500 yards? I mean, the guy had, like, if you look at the numbers, yeah, it was not pretty, and the Patriots fans were probably fucking grumpy at him, more of them than not.
Yeah.
But they do not have a talented offense. It's clear as day.
Also, yeah.
Which should probably improve. And if that's a bad season, I'm willing to buy in for whatever the good season can be, especially because right now he is priced very well under that first-round pick. So, yeah, last year when there was the hype associated, it was annoying to get into Mac Jones. I liked Mac Jones, but I didn't have any shares because he was just too damn fucking expensive. Now I can actually get in without having to give up any significant assets. We'll talk about my Orphan team later, but he's one of the guys who want to fucking purchase in my Orphan league.
Yeah.
All right. Next news and notes. We're finally into mock draft season. As a Patriots fan, I started a little early this year. But yes, we have Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks from NFL releasing their mock drafts.
Sorry, Cal McNair takes that first round.
People's ears right now. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the mock draft.
Yeah, NFL is pretty brutal with just shoving their videos in your face, right? When you pull up their web page, their pages. Hold on, let me check chat while you're making it up. Trade Claypool and Sutton for Godwin.
I like that trade.
Yeah.
I think Godwin's become
I
don't know who the Bucs quarterback's going to be.
I think that's a good trade simply because, like, if you think about what Claypool's value is now, like, what can you trade? Can you even get a second for Claypool?
Probably not.
Maybe
What's
not.
Sutton's value now?
Low.
A mid-second?
Mid-second. That's about
so,
where
like, you traded a mid-second and, like, what, a third for Godwin?
I didn't see Godwin played well once he was like kind of fully back from his injury this year. It was a quiet season, but he was playing well and he's still young. I think if Brady leaves and they enter a rebuild, I wouldn't even rule out Mike Evans switching teams and then Godwin becomes a target monster. But I don't know. I'm still a big Godwin
could he
fan.
end up being like a Brandon Cooks Texans situation this year? Like,
yeah.
Okay, here we go. I've got the mock draft up. So
all right, let me flip over and look at the YouTube.
I mean,
you're looking at.
I have to scroll through.
Yeah, you're looking at Jeremiah's right here. Interestingly,
I can go through all the offensive players right now as I scroll through. So second pick of the draft to the Texans, Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
Will Levis goes pick 4 to the Colts.
Yeah, he's QB2 according to Jeremiah.
And pick 4, which is pretty impressive. CJ Stroud lasts all the way until pick 9 to the Panthers, with a couple QB teams passing up on him, including the Falcons, the Raiders, the Lions, the Seahawks. So a little interesting there.
Yeah, I'm gonna save my thoughts till the end. That way we can.
Did I miss someone?
Pick it apart. Nope, you're good. That is a thought. You're good. You gotta go.
Yeah, brutal stretch in the middle. Then we have Dalton Kincaid all the way at 21 to the Chargers. Anthony Richardson at 22 to the Ravens. Hold on, Lounis. I probably see you over there. Michael Mayer to the Jaguars at 24. Jordan Addison, as he's the first receiver off the board in this mock, correct?
At 25?
He's at 25 to the Giants.
Whoa.
Bijan Robinson goes to the Bills at 27. I'll tell you what, people will be drooling over that. Darnell Washington, speaking of another pick people will be drooling over, goes at 28 to the Bengals. That would be nuts.
Yeah.
Jackson Smith and Jigba goes at 31 to the Eagles, and that's all we got.
Stop it.
No, I thought it was Jahmyr Gibbs at 31 to the Eagles.
No, that's the other one. So we'll pick apart Jeremiah's first. Off the bat, I just find it interesting. We're going to look at Bucky Brooks as well in a second, but I'll combine the two real quick for this thought. I get that you can't do trades, but neither of them had Bryce Young going 101.
I mean, after what we've seen from Justin Fields, I don't think that's really a shock.
I've been seeing a whole undercurrent of people saying, oh, you take Bryce Young here at 101, you trade Justin Fields, you get 2 more years on the rookie contract and potentially a better passer. Look, I don't necessarily agree with it. I mean, I'd be willing to listen to offers, though. I mean, what are people willing to give me for Justin Fields compared to what are people willing to give me for 101?
I think if you're
if
you're the Bears, though, when you're actively shopping Justin Fields, how do you think other teams are going to view that?
I agree.
As
and
a savvy team looking to get the best.
You will get a much better price for 101 consistently than you would for Justin Fields.
That's why I figure, but I'm not closing the door on trading away Justin Fields if the offers, because there's a big benefit of 2 years more on a rookie contract with Bryce Young that you'd get taking him over Justin Fields.
The thing is that I'm thinking of is, okay, all the teams that have the offers that they can make for me to really think about 101 are all rebuilding-esque teams.
Mm-hmm.
All the teams that have a lot of draft capital. If I trade for a pick next year, it's not guaranteed to be a playoff pick, right?
That's true.
So they're the teams where I can move from 101 down to 106 or wherever, right? Maybe the Colts, like 104, pick up the dude that I was thinking about taking at 1 anyway, like a Will Anderson or whoever, and then fucking stonks. You know, I get a lot of shit on top of it. So yeah. I think that's the only way you can trade.
Okay, so that's more of an NFL perspective than a dynasty perspective. So I'll shift us back there. Will Levis is the second quarterback off the board here. I can't. I don't know. I don't know what teams. I get that, but I don't know what teams see in Will Levis. You're going to spend that high of a pick on that quarterback. I don't.
You know it's going to be the Colts.
If you dropped Will Levis into the 2020 or the 2021 class or 2022, if you dropped him into any of the previous 3 classes, like where is he going? I don't think very high at all.
Zach Wilson,
he would have been the first quarterback taken last year.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not even
true.
question.
Yeah,
I think he would
Not
have
a
been
question.
With no doubt.
No, he would have been the first quarterback.
Why didn't he then? He's a senior.
I don't know.
Listen, you're asking the wrong guy.
It's not like
he should have went out last year.
It's not like he had a good year this year. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, why didn't he go last year then?
He got a bad agent.
Well, all right, but if you put him in 2021,
should have had the JT agent.
Thank you. Yeah, if you put him in 2021 and you put him in 2020, like he's not getting picked top 15. He's not a top 15 pick.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes players just make mistakes. Like, why did Olave and Etienne stay for another year?
I think they did boost their value.
The thing is, JT, you have to realize is that
at least
Will Levis is like the pocket quarterback, drop back game equivalent of what Anthony Richardson is, right? You know, just the toolsy, okay, if we can fix a little bit of this here and there and just get him to play within the system, right? It's not, oh, we need to do anything fucking over the moon, right? It's just, okay, we just need to get him comfortable and in a rhythm in our system, and we can have a drop back quarterback who can sit back there and sling the pill in any fucking day of the week in any weather and hit anyone on the field in any spot. Like that's the dream scenario in the modern pass. Okay, maybe not the modern passing game, because like you can make a clear argument that these running quarterbacks are really what you want. That's the dream quarterback, and that's why Anthony Richardson's getting hyped, because all the people are like, well, shit, we get a solid arm and a runner too.
We'll get to him. We'll get to him. But I think with Will Levis going where he's going, I think Josh Allen's broken a lot of people's brains in terms of like.
This is what I'm going to say on this quarterback subject. I just think CJ Stroud better prospect to me than Will Levis. I think he will end up going ahead of Will Levis in the NFL draft, but I do think Will Levis is a top 15 pick. And I think it's pretty easy to see why. I mean, Frank was starting to hit on it where he was just saying, big dude, cannon arm, pretty much everything you want, right? Ticks all the boxes to be a pocket passer in the next level. Obviously, decision-making, redshirt senior, there's a whole bunch of other red flags on him, but I think teams are going to see the upside of his arm, because his arm is just a fucking cannon, man. It is. He could really just sling it anywhere on the field, like you were saying, Frank. So just the pure upside is what NFL teams are going to see with Will Levis, and that's why I think it's pretty clear he's going to go in the top 15 of this class, making him what I think would be at least a first-round pick in rookie drafts. Probably upper half.
Okay, so let's say Will Levis goes 104 to the Colts. He's the day one starter, and his ADP is 107. Yeah. What do you think about that? Is that a fine pick? You're just on consensus? You're lower than consensus and you won't touch him, or you're buying in even earlier?
Honestly, I was talking to one of our other friends, Parker, this week, and he was talking, I have 106 in our home league rookie draft coming up, and he was like, who are you going to take? And I'm like, honestly, I might take Will Levis. If he's going to go in the top 15, I might take Will Levis.
That's bold.
He should go in the first round. He should probably go in the top 10. It'll really just depend on the board. I don't mind being the person to pass on him, but he should go top 10.
I'd take him at like 10.
Yeah.
10 in the Dynasty mock draft. All right. So the next guy on the board though is
CJ Stroud.
Yeah, okay. Jake kind of did touch on. I think he's the second best quarterback in this draft. I have him pretty high above Will Levis. I mean, if he goes like 9 instead of like top 5, does that affect his dynasty stock at all?
I don't think so. I think we saw this with 10. Fields already, where Fields was still the consensus QB2, even though he ended up being QB4 off the board in that draft class. Or I think Lance may have passed. I don't know.
Lance moved up.
Even like a few years ago, like didn't Mahomes and Deshaun Watson kind of both go around like 8, 10, 12 that draft?
Deshaun Watson, I'm pretty sure if my memory is correct, was like the easy QB1 that year. Everyone was drooling over Watson.
In my opinion, he should have been, but he didn't end up. I'm pretty sure Trubisky went ahead of him.
Yeah, in the NFL draft.
In the NFL draft. But yeah, I'm saying to the point, like, if you go pick 10, like, that's fine. Mahomes was pick 10. I think Watson was like pick 8 or something. Like,
yeah, all right. We're all on the same page there then. We don't have to spend too much on that.
So
Interestingly, though, the next pick.
Yeah, the next pick is, like, imagine Dalton Kincaid being your pick for, like, what, 4th or 5th skill player off the board?
Yeah, I don't get it.
He'd be the 4th. Yeah, the 3 quarterbacks, and then Dalton Kincaid is the 4th.
In this draft class that's been touted so highly for the past, like, 2 years, it's Dalton Kincaid who's number 4 off the board in the NFL draft.
I don't think did we take him in I'm trying to remember, a 2-round mock
No,
draft?
but we probably should have.
He was on my board, but I don't think I got to him. I'm trying to look behind me and see my notes. That would be I get he's good and everything, but like that would be surprising if he's the next pick. I get the tight end position though, it is a fickle position and it's one that the Chargers certainly can use. But I would assume most people have Meyer as the number 1 tight end coming out of this class. Yeah. I necessarily don't, but I mean, he's looked good when he did play for Utah.
Yeah, he's kind of like a production monster, and he had a couple games for a tight. I think he had like a 200-yard game or something fucking nuts against someone in the Pac-12. But yeah, he absolute production monster. I mean, I like Dalton Kincaid in rookie drafts simply because I kind of just assume he's going to be a value pick somewhere in the second round.
He had 16 receptions for 234 yards against USC. I remember that.
Yeah, he went absolutely nuts. Yeah. That Utah team is awesome. But nonetheless, I just can't see him going this high in the NFL draft. I really don't.
I agree.
I feel like this is similar to when teams, when you had the mocks with Trey McBride sneaking into the late first in a lot of drafts. I think Kincaid's better than McBride as a prospect, but not first round level.
I think I still might have liked McBride more, to be honest. But
I view both as second round guys.
Yeah. Well, all right. So next pick, we don't have to spend that much time on Dalton Kincaid. It's Lounis' boy.
Pick. Okay. All right, Lounis, take the floor.
I feel like I've made the case. I would just say watch the tape, watch the talent. You guys went 2 full rounds without picking this guy. You can walk away, Jake. You can just run away.
I stand by it.
He's going to go in the first round. He's going to go in the first. I'm going to win the bet. I don't know where in the first he's going to go.
We took the bet. The funny part is we took the bet first 2 rounds.
I know. I don't know why you did first 2 rounds.
Because he's not good. He's not good.
Listen.
I wouldn't be spending my first 2-round picks on him.
Yeah.
He's gonna go in the first round. The talent jumps off the screen. And when he goes first round, the mock drafts last week, I think the viewers are owed an apology, to be honest. For him just to not go in any pick in the first 2 rounds. This is a guy who's probably gonna get drafted in the first. We want to talk about ceiling. I don't know, ceiling wise, there's another quarterback in the class with a higher ceiling. And no, admittedly, he has a lower floor than the other first round guys. I don't know. I'm just going to be patient with it because I know what's going to happen. His stock is only going to rise when the combine happens and the pro day happens and he's making all these like ridiculous throws on the run. And then he's going to go first round and then we'll come back and it'll be a fun discussion.
I still don't think he's going first round. I think this dude, we saw Justin Fields, who's a much more prolific passer, mightily struggling to pass the ball in the league. And Anthony Richardson looks like the NFL Justin Fields at Florida. I mean, every other quarterback that is in this draft has basically had one season in NCAA that totals more yards in their career, in Anthony Richardson's entire fucking career at Florida.
I understand that. He really only had one season as the full starter for the full year. He won't. I mean, he's not going to be drafted because of like the college stats. He's going to be drafted because of his physical traits. And I I don't know. I disagree with the Malik Willis comparison JT had. Malik Willis was 23 years old playing at an independent school at Liberty. Anthony Richardson is 21 starting in the SEC. And like drastically different situations. I know you want to argue maybe the talent around him is better in the SEC, but he's still going up against Tennessee defenses, Georgia defenses. And I don't know, Frank. I don't know if being able to scout, but he's making throws that I don't see the other guys make.
Listen, he can make some throws. He's got talent, but I'm sorry. I until he goes in the fucking first round, I am adamantly against taking him in the first round of these dynasty drafts and things.
So Frank just hit the nail on the head there. The draft capital with Anthony Richardson is everything, because if he comes out and is a first round pick, even if it's here in the late first where it's 22 through 31, whatever it is, doesn't matter. It means that someone clearly had a first round grade on him and is willing to spend that pick on him. So if that's the case, then I think the conversation starts to change. But the problem with Anthony Richardson is that his range of outcomes in the NFL draft at this point is so large. He could be anywhere from a top 5 pick down to a 3rd round pick like Malik Willis. So if there's just so much range that right now I don't have a problem not mocking him in the first 2 rounds.
No,
Once I see the capital, then his range starts to shrink, right? It starts to you start to narrow it in because you know how an NFL team valued him.
And that's also why I don't mind being patient. I think he'll go first. I think his floor is top 10 or 12 of the 2nd round. I don't think there's any way he falls behind that. I know you guys still think he might go later in the 3rd. I just don't see it. I think like there's a reason he came out, entered the draft. I think there's a reason all these like NFL draft guys have been having him in the 1st round. And I mean, just talent wise, he is that level of talent. It's just always been a consistency thing for him. Because it's like some games he looks like he could be the number 1 pick, and then some games you're like, what the fuck is he doing? But I don't know. I'm still confident that he's going to go in the 1st. I don't think it'll be like top 10, but
the only thing I will say is that I think is the big discrepancy between what the fans' opinions are and what happens in the NFL draft a lot is that the NFL draft, these guys at the quarterback position care most about what are you in the drop back game. The running stuff is just an extra. And we see it time and time again, the fact that Lamar, who his drop back game was miles ahead of what's his name? Frickin' Anthony Richardson. We have Jalen Hurts, whose drop back game was miles ahead of Anthony Richardson. He just didn't have the cannon that Richardson has.
Neither of them did.
But those dudes were just better passing the football. 100% they were better day one passing the football. So I don't see it.
Most of their best passing seasons were in weaker conferences, which I know I don't want to bring the conference into it, but I think the main thing that's the difference is in terms of poise, accuracy, but in terms of arm talent, like being able to make certain throws at tough angles on the run, just like those that would seem impossible for a QB to get off. Richardson's arm talent is on a different level than those guys.
Look,
I'm saying arm
play
talent.
A game with you guys.
Going to be a better pocket pass.
I'm gonna play a game with you guys. You just tell me if you want player A or B. Player A in his last season in college football had 327 passes for 2,549 yards, 54% roughly completion percentage, 17 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. He had a 70.6 QBR, and he had 103 rushes for 654 yards and 9 rushing touchdowns. Player B had 315 passes, 2,600 yards, 61.6% completion percentage, 24 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, and then a 70 QBR, and 189 rushes for 820 yards and 11 rushing touchdowns. Do you want player A or do you want player B?
I know statistically, obviously, the choice is player B. It comes down to more than that. But statistically, then Gardner Minshew wouldn't have fell to the 6th round? Did he go in? I don't remember. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm willing to be patient with it. You guys will see over time when he goes early.
Player B was Malik Willis, who I think was better in basically every category. Now I get that you're not playing you're not playing
Georgia's
Tennessee,
defense. Bama,
yeah, but I mean, Anthony Richardson was playing University of Southern Florida and had 0 touchdowns to 2 interceptions against them. Like, you know, there are games like that are on Anthony Richardson's tape. Played Mizzou, had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Like, you know, like it's not like he's playing these world beaters either and has struggling against them. He's struggling against not great teams either as well. Whatever, we could talk about Anthony Richardson all day. Next guy, this is a tight end that everyone thought was going to be the top one, going to the Jaguars, which I don't know, after Evan Ingram's been playing, I don't know how it's going to work, but Michael Mayer at 24 to the Jaguars. Do we think
I love this? I love this.
Assuming that Evan Ingram is not there the next year, and this is just a Michael Mayer tight end room. Yeah, this makes him a smash first round pick in this Trevor Lawrence offense.
Oh, then yeah.
That'd be a nice offense when you have Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley, and then it's going to be first year tight end Mayer, but I mean that combined with ETN too, that'd be a nice offense to start. But yeah, I feel more comfortable taking him. I still don't want to take him anywhere earlier than the late first, but
that's the thing that's the beauty of this tight end class to me, is that there's enough flashy players at the other positions still, especially because the tight ends that we're looking at and talking about are these top end tight ends that you can get potentially, like in these scenarios that from this mock draft, tight ends that completely own their tight end room, right? They are the guy, and they're on these top AFC offenses that all just made the playoffs with their young quarterbacks. So that is like, not only do you have potential like good fantasy points, you have that flash to this position that usually doesn't have flash. So if you actually want a liquid tight end, you might be able to have one. Addison is up next to the Giants.
He's the first wide receiver off the board. And I think, I don't know whose computer's going crazy, but I think that finally lends some credence to what I've been saying, where I think these receivers are closer to Rashad Bateman than they are Jamar Chase when we're comparing them to previous years. Now, Jamar Chase isn't like another worldly prospect, but all right, like I'll say like they're closer to Rashad Bateman than they are Jalen Waddle, who was not like, he was a very good prospect coming out, but he wasn't like crazy transcendent kind of thing.
I mean,
I think 25 is just not accurate. I think they're going to go higher than 25, but I think everyone's super hyped up on these wide receivers, and while I think they're very good, I think we're discounting wide receivers from the past, where if I told you, like, where would you take Drake London in this class if he was coming out? Like, what would you guys say?
I mean, he'd be in the conversation for like the wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
I would take Drake London at 102 in this class, right behind
I'd take him at wide receiver 2. I still would have JSN ahead of him.
Right.
Am I the highest on JSN on the podcast?
Probably. I mean, I really like him, but he's still my wide receiver 2 in this class. In a side take, because this is Addison too, who Daniel Jeremiah has as the first wide receiver off the board, which I don't think any of us have as our first wide receiver, right?
No. He's very close for me. I have JSN at 1 still, but he's very close on his.
I have Addison at 2, but JSN 1.
Yeah. So
I mean, this conflicts me a little bit, because I agree with you. I really don't think, after seeing, maybe teams were just drinking the Kool-Aid too much last year, because I feel like this season we kind of saw a swing back towards a lot of teams that invested in those young, good tackles kind of had some offensive success this season. But nonetheless, like, were teams just drinking the Kool-Aid, going with Dotsons and Treylon at 16 and 18 and taking, or were those receivers really that much better than these receivers? Because if that's the case, I was thinking, why not just, if you have 107, I imagine right now you can trade that for Burks Plus.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So like I understand that you're going into a situation where you're picking up Burks after a not great rookie season. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't what you wanted, and a shitty Titans team. Like, but you're like, if it's a fucking talent thing, like.
Yeah, you're trading this.
I just don't think this is accurate, and I think we're gonna look at another mock maybe if we have time.
Yeah.
But
We got to speed run through this. So we got.
Well, I had a feeling we would just spend less time on the next one because we're kind of talking about all these players here, and then we don't need to like reiterate everything. But we can move on from Addison here to Bijan is a first round pick, but he's number 27.
He would still the hype would still be through the fucking roof going to Buffalo.
Yes, and we've had this debate before. We had it offline. We're not really going to get into the whole. I'm like anti taking a running back in the first round, kind of for whatever reason. But I mean, Bijan is like a top talent, and getting him at 27 does seem like a very good value play. Did the Bills actually do this? I don't know, but to me, as long as Bijan's in the first round, I'm full go on Bijan. He's still the 101 in my class. This one's more interesting though. Darnell
this
Washington.
One is also a smash. If this happens, this is a smash.
Before this draft, I was consistently seeing him go in the middle of the second. I was hoping the Patriots would have a chance at him in the mid-second. It's looking like that's not the case currently, as Darnell Washington is getting mocked 28th to the Cincinnati Bengals, which that's just a crazy offense. If you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outside, you have Darnell Washington as your tight end.
I don't know. There's been some rumors that T might get moved. So because they're gonna have to pay Jamar soon, and they're not gonna be able to pay T, so they're gonna trade him.
And Burrow's about to get a contract that pays him like $50 million per year. I've seen the same thing, Jake, where like it's like they don't think they'll be able to pay Higgins, and it kind of would make sense to trade him for like a first plus.
I think the Giants are going to be in on T. Higgins, to be honest with you. But
T. Higgins
is
a wide receiver one for most teams.
If this draft were to happen IRL, is Darnell Washington now the tight end one in this class going to the Bengals?
Yeah. I mean, here's my tight end one before all of this, before this draft, and I was assuming he was going in the second round, and Mayer, and I thought Dalton Kincaid would also be a second rounder, but still, yes, Darnell Washington would definitely be my tight end one.
I think he'd be the tight end one. I think the better question is like, how early could he possibly go in the first round? This is his landing spot.
I still don't think you could take him before.
I think it's like 107, 108 is the earliest
at best. Yeah.
I
wasn't expecting like top 5, but I was wondering if it like someone would like go at like 107. And
the thing is, to me, that's like, okay, you don't like whoever the QB3 is, the wide receiver 3, RB3, so you take who you think is the tight end one. I think that's. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba is the last pick of the first round going to the Eagles.
There's no way the Eagles are going to take them, but sure.
That pick makes no sense.
Don't you need to take a defensive player? Like, aren't you guys kind of losing everyone on defense?
No, not everyone. They're gonna lose Bradbury. I expect them to take a corner with one of their first 2-round picks, with Darius Slay getting older. I do think though it'll probably be like that number 10 pick though, and I could see them taking Joey Porter out of Penn State. And then here, I don't know, they normally go offensive and defensive line in the first round.
This feels like oh dang, I need to put JSN in the first round. Well, I guess I'll just slap him in here.
I see no way this happens, because I think they just paid AJ Brown. They gotta pay some other guys, and then I think like they're gonna pay Devontae Smith in a couple of years. It makes no sense to spend that high of an asset on a wide receiver.
Well, all right, we can move though to the next draft, because where I'm gonna pivot this is
this Eagles pick. I think is more kind of interesting and more realistic.
Well, that's not exactly where I was gonna pivot yet, but so we only had 2 wide receivers in the first round, right? Jordan Addison and JSN.
Yeah,
and then in Bucky Brooks, if we go to his. I mean, obviously, we have the quarterbacks. We have the quarterbacks going, and Bryce Young again at 2. We just flipped C.J. Stroud and Will Levis at 4 and 9. But then the next skill player that gets drafted is Quinn Johnston at pick 12 to the Texans. He's not even in Jeremiah's first round. So, I mean, big discrepancy here. Literally, like almost a whole round discrepancy between the two. I'm obviously, as the Quentin Johnston wide receiver 1 guy, I'm going to favor Bucky's side here, but I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the hot topics of the offseason is where do you have Quentin Johnston? I probably fall in the middle between these two mocks where I really liked DK Metcalf in that draft class. I think Quentin Johnston is like a similar-esque prospect to a DK Metcalf, athletic freak, prototypical size, good with the ball in his hands and going vertical, but lacks a lot of just that polish that you see out of some of these receivers coming out of LSU, coming out of Bama, that they're kind of just ready to go out the gate. I don't know. To me, the only problem I have with Johnston is I feel like he's almost a little too raw, even compared to the raw prospects. And that's why I'm expecting him to be and value him more as like an Elijah Moore-esque prospect, where not that he's a bad prospect or anything like that, maybe even a little bit higher than Elijah Moore, but more towards that late first for me, and in the NFL draft and the Dynasty draft.
Yeah, we don't have to. We spend a lot of time on him anyway, but yeah, just interesting how different the NFL analysts, I don't know what you want to call them, view him and where they think NFL teams view him. Next on this list, and the tight end 1 is Michael Mayer, who was the second one in Daniel Jeremiah's. He's going to the Patriots here. I think that would be a very good addition for New England. They kind of just need a guy, and this could certainly be the guy. So yeah, not much more to add here. Second wide receiver.
I really feel like the Patriots go receiver. I feel like
I want a receiver.
Because weren't there rumblings last year that you guys really wanted a receiver, but then there was all that craziness around the receivers.
Yeah, Christian Kirk got paid and then set the market, and so then it's hard to.
I really do think the Patriots are one of those top 3 guys.
And yeah, now they're at pick 14 right now. If we're looking at teams are willing to wait in the receiver, well, then they're in the driver's seat. Go ahead and take who you think is the best receiver in this draft class, and start building an offense that can actually compete in that division of offenses.
Yeah, I could see them letting Jacoby Myers walk, and then JSN comes in at 14. He can play the outside or the slot. A lot of their route concepts. I could see that playing out. I could see Quentin Johnston or Addison, honestly, but that's what I would do if I were them.
My dream scenario is they get Quentin Johnston and I manage to keep Jacoby Myers as well. I think that would be a very good duo to have. Much better than Kendrick Bourne and Devontae Parker out there. All right, but yeah, going back to this, JSN at 20 to the Seahawks. I think that kind of feels like we're going to move on from Tyler Lockett kind of pick. Build with Dino.
But the Seahawks are just going to take some random motherfucker that everyone thought was going like late second, mid second.
We're going to see like Zach Evans go there, or
yeah, it's the Seahawks, man. Good luck trying to predict what the hell they're going to do.
All right, but yeah, we don't need to spend too much more time. But what's interesting, Bijan Robinson to the Chargers, I think that would make things go nuclear. It's very interesting what would happen to Austin Eckler there. And another team,
that would be rough for Eckler.
This is where I feel like the Anthony Richardson to the Ravens, it just feels like a whole click debacle, because I truly think that the Ravens are keeping Lamar Jackson. You just don't let that kind of player walk. But whatever. We spent a lot of time on Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, here's the surprise pick here from this mock draft, and that was
Zay Flowers
to the Giants, wide receiver out of Boston College.
Jake, you said you wanted to talk about Zay Flowers.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of Zay Flowers this week, and I like the pick. It's tough because I have other guys that are still on the board above him, so I don't think that's who I personally would have gone with in this mock, especially. But I do like Zay Flowers, the player. I think he is a great route runner that is just being absolutely slept on in this draft. And I think once people see the draft capital and even the combine that this guy's going to put up, I think he's going to start to rise up draft boards. I think he went at 212 in our mock this week or this past week. And I think
guys from.
I took whatever. Anyways, I just think you're going to start to see him climb up draft boards pretty quick. I think you're going to start to see him consistently in the mid-second, very soon and then continue to rise following, the draft process here, just because I do think he ends up going in the early to mid second of the NFL draft. So I do think his stock is going to raise as we get closer.
I think he's a late first NFL draft talent. I think he's going to get drafted in the late first. Which
and now
Lucky Brooks agrees with. Yes.
We have Addison then going at 27. So the wide receiver 1 in Jeremiah's draft goes wide receiver 4 here to the Bills. I mean, that would be a crazy landing spot for Addison. Everyone would kind of just be jumping for joy.
Well, I've seen
the Twitter so high.
The Twitter discourse recently is, we need to get Josh Allen more help. Gabe Davis isn't it, which is a big turn from what was going on in the offseason before the season. Yeah, people have finally joined the dark side and are like, Gabe Davis is not it. But yeah, Addison, I could see him if he ends up on the Bills, I could see him pushing the quarterbacks for consensus. I mean, I think Frank did take him over CJ Stroud already in our mock draft.
If Addison goes,
yeah, I think he's pushing the 102, 103 potentially.
Yeah.
In that scenario, I personally wouldn't do it, but I think consensus might have him there.
He's definitely going top 4 in that scenario.
Then we got he'd be super hyped. Darnell Washington going pick 28 to the Bengals again. Dude, honestly, like, I'm looking at some of these picks, man. I feel like Darnell Washington is going top 25. I mean,
if they already have him this high,
dude, he's literally in the Incredibles. Like, this dude has got some superpowers. Like, I'm taking him earlier than pick. I'm not like letting the Bengals have this guy. So I think Darnell Washington rises a shit ton in the draft process.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happened as well.
And he wasn't even the best tight end on his own college team.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. But he's a beast. Jahmyr Gibbs, though, at the last pick to the Eagles, that I find much more believable.
They replace Miles Sanders. Yeah. They pick up.
They don't resign Miles Sanders. I think if this were to happen, he'd kind of skyrocket up boards, and
I mean, he's already at pick consensus like 4.
He would go nuclear.
I think because I mean, if you think about one, like just generally that high scoring offense, 2, that offensive line, and it being like a heavy run offense, and then Miles Sanders, who, like, if you're believing Jahmyr Gibbs is a better talent, Miles Sanders behind this O line only playing like 60% of snaps with no receiving ability, really, just had like 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns this season. Like, if you put Jahmyr Gibbs talent and he can catch the ball.
Wait, if Sanders goes and Jahmyr Gibbs is there and you're looking at it and they have freaking Kenneth Gainwell and some other random guys, maybe they bring Boston Scott back, and it's just like, to me, that means that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get this pretty nutty share of that rushing attack.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the lowest a first round running back has gone in dynasty rookie drafts, and I mean, Etienne or Najee Harris recently, because I mean,
Etienne was kind of going like 107, 108,
and that's around where Najee was going a little higher than that, right? 4 or 5.
I think all those running backs fluctuated though, because you had camps of people that had Najee 101, Javonte 101, Etienne 101 for their running back rookie rankings that year. So we kind of I was in drafts where Javonte went 111. I was in drafts where Javonte went 105, right? It was kind of just the first 11 picks were set, and then the order of which you had these guys was kind of just all over the place.
So where I'm going with this though is, I'll say, if Jahmyr Gibbs is a first round pick, I think he solidifies himself as a top 4 pick in that case, maybe even pushing top 3. So I don't know. You're going to get a lot of, to me, if this draft happened and you had Quinn Johnson as like the number 12 overall pick in this draft, I'm going to go Bijan 101. I'm going to go Quinn Johnson 102. I'm going to go Jahmyr Gibbs 103. Then I'll take the quarterbacks. Then I'll take JSN, then Addison. And that makes up my top 7.
I just think a lot, especially in this mock draft that we're looking at, this Bucky Brooks one, CJ Stroud going 4. I really do think ADP wise will probably solidify him as the number 3 pick in these Superflex rookie drafts. You might get a pick or two deviation, but I would be shocked if he was not 103 ADP.
I've been operating under the assumption that CJ Stroud was going to be a top 5 pick, whether or not it's one of those top 5 teams that take him or a team trades up to go get him. I just kind of assumed he was going to be in the top 5, so that's not going to make me do anything crazy. Players like Jahmyr Gibbs, I didn't think would be that high. I don't necessarily think Quinn Johnston would be pushing top 10. So that's going to make me really push them upwards.
I realistically think that Jahmyr Gibbs gets slotted somewhere in the early second, similar to DeAndre Swift and what's his name, Jonathan Taylor. I wouldn't be surprised to see a team trade potentially, or at least try to trade into the early second to snag Jahmyr Gibbs or whoever might be their running back of choice in the early second.
Yeah. All right. So that is the mock drafts. I don't know. I found out a lot because I think what these guys are trying to do is trying to get the pulse of the NFL and figure out what they think NFL teams think about
these change so much throughout the offseason.
So they do change a lot, but it is interesting to see our first glimpse as to what the insiders are thinking the NFL teams think.
I guess my quick synopsis would be that the wide receiver class is the one taking the biggest hit, and that the tight end.
I don't know though, because in Bucky Brooks' draft, they had so many wide receivers go.
Well, in some of the other mock drafts, I've also seen that these receivers are kind of just going later, because I think that Bucky Brooks draft is kind of like the bare minimum of what a lot of people expected this class to be.
True.
But on the other hand, these tight ends and quarterbacks, I think, are a lot better than we may have thought, where a lot of people are thinking this might just be like a 2 quarterback show. And the tight ends were always pretty decent, but 3 tight ends in the first round would be very interesting for these rookie drafts.
All right. New segment. Similar to what we were doing last year or 2 years ago, I think that was at this point. Frank's picked up another new team. And by new team, I mean someone has abandoned their poor little old team that didn't look very good. And Frank has swooped in and decided to give this team some tender love and care. And yep, you could see it and pulling it up on the screen now.
I'm trying to make it bigger so that people can actually see.
Yeah, but I'll start reading it off right now as you do. The quarterbacks are Kenny Pickett and Russell Wilson. The running backs are Josh Jacobs, Zeke Elliott. Wide receivers are Marvin Jones, Hunter Renfrow, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett, and you got Darren Waller and Mike Gesicki at tight end. So not great. Can use a lot of tender love and care. But yeah, Frank, I'll let you take it away from here on how you want the segment to go.
Yeah, so I was thinking, this offseason, I'm going to take over a bunch of orphans. I don't know why I've got the orphan bug. And I wanted to take over a nice, ripe piece of crap to start off. So I kind of just wanted to go into a segment about, A, what the hell I should try to do with this dog pile of crap of a team. Yeah. And B, just like some overall strategies that if people take over orphans, what are things you should immediately try and do, and other potential ideas? Because, you're in a situation a lot of the times you've got the older running backs. You just have a funky team, right? And that's what makes, to me, taking over these orphans a lot of fun. And as per usual, you kind of don't have a ton of draft picks. This orphan actually has a couple. And I picked up pick 211. My first trade was 211 for what's that Colts tight end name?
Jelani Woods.
Jelani Woods. Yeah, I traded Jelani Woods for pick 211. That was the first trade. But yeah, I think specifically these running backs, Josh Jacobs and Ezekiel Elliott, and Tyler Lockett, I think are like the players that I really am struggling to figure out what types of trades to make for them, because I've kind of decided that I don't want to hold any one of those 3 players going into the season, which I think is kind of just step number 1 for me, is just I clearly can't compete. So get rid of any dead weight in players that I think have no semblance of potential playing ability in 2025, 2024.
Yeah,
it's just, yeah, how do you go about doing that? Because I noticed when we took over the team together as a group,
We just immediately tried to sell everybody.
and it didn't work for a while because I think people were trying to take advantage of the new guys or whatever, especially when you're taking over, not a great team. They don't know how you are as a manager and what your tendencies are.
You also just have no leverage, though. You have no leverage because you have to get rid of the old scoring players.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone knows that.
You're already limiting your trade pool, too, because I'm assuming not 11 other teams are competing and want these old players, at cost. So you're in trouble.
Now, I remember how we solved our problem, though. If you guys remember, what we did was we did two strategies. We packaged together all of the old players and got one shiny toy.
Or Kyler Murray, both shiny toys.
And we did the classic merchant strat of like player and a second for a first. So we did Zeke for like Mooney in a second, and then Mooney in a second for a first. It was something like that.
Yeah, I can try and go back and find our trades actually, if you keep going on here.
Or I think we just traded a first straight up for Henry, because I think we traded Zeke and D-Hop in the same deal for Pitts. Or yeah, whatever. So like Jacobs obviously commands a price. I was hoping to get a first and a second for him. I don't know if I actually can or not. But that was my ideal price tag for him. Like Zeke, I don't even know what the hell to do with. Like, do I just try to get a late second for him? You're muted, Jake.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
I would trade the Zeke for that. I can go through real quick what we did in the previous Orphan to kind of give us some ideas. So first we traded, this one was incredibly lucky, but we traded Sam Darnold when he was the Carolina starting quarterback and Brandon Cooks for a first, which ended up being, I believe, we're 102 or 103 this year, and a fourth. So that was our first trade. So we started off hot. Then we moved on. We traded Tyrod Taylor when he was the backup for a third in 2022. So another trade that I feel like we're happy about. We traded Rashad Penny for a third. And then here's the ones where we got creative. We packaged together AJ Green, Taysom Hill, and James Washington for a second, a fourth, and a fifth. Right? We're just packaging. We're packaging, and we're trading off different stuff. Yeah, then we sent Zeke for Darnell Mooney and a late first. So that was pretty good.
We really got that much for Zeke? Nice.
Yeah. Then here's again where we're packaging again. We're trading D-Hop and Derrick Henry plus a third and Jacob Eason for Kyle Pitts, Kellen Mond, Trey Sermon, and a late second. So that's
Trey Sermon really backfired on that one, but yeah,
he did backfire. Then again, the packaging, we trade Darnell Mooney and a second for a first. So it looks like basically anytime we went with the package strategy, we came out on top. Taylor Heineke and a third for a second. All right. Then we gave up Cam Newton, OBJ, and James Conner for Zach Wilson. But then the following year we traded Zach Wilson. And what did we do? It doesn't say because it's the following. We traded Zach Wilson and I believe a first for Kyler Murray.
Yeah. I think it was 107 in that 22 draft.
Yeah. What if you put them on the block under value and try to foster a bidding war when, for example, 4 people hit you up to get Jacobs for a single first? Depends on how active your league is. I don't know how active this, especially at this time, to try and drum up a bidding war might end up backfiring and leaving you kind of just
So
that's when you end up holding the bag.
The question is, okay, so obviously Zeke has got to be part of the package if I'm going to start packaging guys together. What about Waller? Do I put Waller in there?
Yep, gone.
So like package together Zeke, Waller, Lockett, like if maybe that package of 3, like here's a little contender bone, like fetch. And then what do like? Just
I don't
trade
even,
all that for like a first and a second?
I don't even know if you get that. I have no idea. I have
no idea what you can.
What do we get? You said Zeke,
Waller, and Lockett. I feel like trading that all for a single first feels kind of bad.
It's worth.
You put it in. It is it's worth 101. It says, but I don't buy it.
You're not getting Bijan for that.
No.
Yeah, no shot.
But you could get like a 106, 107, and like in this instance, a Matt Corral.
That's what it says. I mean, if you can go even later, if you get like 110 and Brandon Cooks doesn't sound bad. 110 and Alan Lazard.
How do you guys feel about like trading that for like let's say like a Drake London?
Yes,
I don't think you get that, but.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade Drake London for that, but if it's a competitor,
like if you're a contender that has Drake London,
I feel like 109 might be a decent target for that package.
I would smash trade that for Drake London, and I truly do think you could get someone who has Drake London to give it up. Like if they're, can you show your league, Frank? The teams in your league, because I mean maybe it's not Drake London, but maybe it's someone else. Specifically for Drake London, it's a player that didn't put up that many points per game. I think it's probably like 9, maybe 10 points per game from Drake London in half PPR. Not a lot. Kyle Pitts was also hurt for a decent amount at the end of the year, and who knows what the quarterback situation is. But then when you take a step back and you look at the underlying stuff, this team was like one of the least passing teams in the NFL in the past like 20 years. Like it's ridiculous how little they passed. Eventually he's going to get a good quarterback. And then when you look at his market share and his target share percentage compared to basically anyone else, he's one of the top tiers. So at some point I'm banking on the Falcons putting it together. It's maybe a hopeless pick, but I'm just going to keep buying Kyle Pitts and Drake London until they retire at this point. Cause I continually think they're getting undervalued. I would smash for that kind of package. I just think when you're holding players like this, like Darren Waller, like a Zeke, like a Tyler Lockett, like they're just they're only on down.
What I will say, so I'll shift from like if you don't think Drake London gets it done, what about like an Olave?
I think Olave's rated higher than Drake London in terms of consensus opinion.
My only problem with trading for those players is that I feel like I'm paying such a premium on those 2022 receiver class.
Drake London, I don't think you are. Because I think I asked you guys where you would take Drake London, and you guys said behind, Luna said he was your wide receiver 2 in this class. Like
Garrett Wilson.
I don't know what you said. Well, I'm saying in this class, like the JSN, the Addison.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you have him? You have him behind JSN?
Yeah, I have him at number.
Yeah, I think he's the smash number 1 in this class if he was coming out. And I'm big on Quinn Johnson, but I just think he's just better. So I think you're still getting him at a decent deal.
You would be in that sense, especially if you would have him smash number 1. But yeah, I mean, those are the type of things I would kind of look into.
Here's a trade I offered out. I thought this trade was kind of interesting.
There are certain veterans where I'm like, maybe if I sell it like week 3 of next season, I can get slightly better than right now.
Yeah, I've done that before. It's not worth it. Don't wait. On veterans, don't wait.
Kenny Pickett and Tyler Lockett for Trey Lance at 3rd and 4th. Yeah, I would have loved it. Was it rejected? Oh no, it's still out.
No, there. It's still pending out there.
I would love to get that. So you're kind of rooting for Brock Purdy right now, then, to drive Trey Lance's value down a little more.
Hey, you put Lance on the trade block. I figured I'd send something out.
Yeah, I would definitely do that.
And then the only other trade I tried to get a second for Romeo Doubs, which seems to be undoable, which I was not really super surprised by.
Well, people are out on Doubs again.
Yeah.
All right, looking at the trade block, it doesn't seem like a very active trade block. You have Dallas Goedert, Darius Slayton, T. Higgins. kind of it.
Hold on, let me get this window correct. Boom. We're trading live, baby. Live trades. All right, so what do we want to do? We want to do Zeke.
We can kind of combine this with players that.
Do
you want to combine this with the players that you should trade for before the NFL draft? Because I mean, this is kind of what we're doing right here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you think I can get anything on top of London? Maybe a cheeky fourth?
You probably can't.
Okay, you know what? We're out of here though. Man,
I'd be
so
surprised.
bad.
I'd be surprised if it gets accepted. To be honest.
Really? You think so?
Sparky. I wonder if Sparky agrees or disagrees with that. Yeah, because I just how high he's rated. But
I'm getting pick 410.
all right, we might as well try. What are some players that you could try and trade for?
All right, give me another one. We're cooking.
I really like Wan'Dale Robinson. I think Wan'Dale Robinson's a big buy. He's hurt. You saw his value shift downwards. Another one in that similar vein, like a Calvin Ridley, who's kind of just fallen off the radar.
I don't know. I was thinking about selling Calvin Ridley.
Oh, you flipped out on Ridley.
I was thinking about selling both Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk.
What would be the price you're looking for?
I'm looking to trade whatever it is I need to trade on top of Christian Kirk or Calvin Ridley to get my hands on one of those juicy future first-round picks. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
a future one.
I just think I don't necessarily disagree, but I think you can. You'll have an easier time trading the players that you have for current players than you will picks, for the most part, unless they're undervalued. Like they're later down the road picks or whatnot, or you trade your players at a discount. But I think you have an easier time trading for veteran players who people think their value is established. But yes, I would trade Christian Kirk for basically any first.
What draft pick would you trade that package for? Like, what if I was trying to get 109? What do you think I could get?
You're talking the Waller, Zeke, and who am I missing? Waller,
yeah,
Zeke, and Lockett.
Zeke, Waller, and Lockett. And I want to get pick 109. You're like 109 and 309? You think that gets done?
Yeah. Because, I mean, who is 109 right now? Will Levis? Like, Sean Tucker? I think you're kind of underselling at that point.
Really?
I don't know. It's very hit or miss with the team dependent. Like, dude, does the team need a running back, a tight end, and a wide receiver kind of thing? Like an old aging.
I feel like it's just a nice enough package. It's like you kind of just getting fucking whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about 107?
I'd much rather try and get 107, surely. I think that's a big tier break for me.
Yeah.
Okay, we're cooking.
Jesus Christ, this guy's quarterbacks.
Look, this guy's got picks for days. Now you can get a whole team. Yeah, look at this. This guy was stonking.
Yeah.
This guy's got a good team. You think I can get anything on top of 107?
Scroll.
You could try for a third.
Maybe try for McBride. If you're ambitious, McBride.
Done. All right, what else should I trade for? Any quarterbacks?
So you guys would rather put all those older assets into a single stud? That team has no one to fill out a roster and limited picks.
It depends on the stud and set assets. It's not like
to answer the question, yeah. Because I mean, those guys, otherwise you're going to find yourself losing value on these players. Like they're just not going to get anything for Zeke 2 years from now. You're barely going to get stuff from him now.
You guys see him?
I'm not looking at the YouTube right now. Well, we can't see the. I'm not.
What should I trade for Mac Jones?
I trade Kenny Pickett straight. I think you could get Mac Jones plus. I think you try trading Kenny Pickett for Trey Lance.
I still don't know what to fully think about Kenny Pickett. He's one of the most confusing dynasty assets to me. Some people are so high.
This guy needs a tight end. I'll give him Waller. What can I get back? I give him Zeke and Waller for Mac Jones. I could definitely get something back, right? Maybe like a third.
Yeah,
fair. Would you look to move that stud?
What do you think of this? Mac Jones and 306 for Zeke and Waller.
Sure.
Does that get done, or am I completely shafting this guy?
I mean, let me look at this guy's team again.
Sure. And
what
Parker,
is it? 306? You said 306?
306 and Mac Jones for Zeke and Waller. I think I might be.
Frank. That came out. It came out fair on Keep Trade Cut. It did say you're winning by 400. So
real quick to answer Parker's question, I do think it depends on how the following season starts, because we see some young players who like we're all high on, but like they have like a great opening 3 weeks, and all of a sudden you see like their value like. They're like wide receiver 3 or like RB 2 or 3. And I think those are the situations where you may want to be, okay, let me capitalize off this momentum. But I mean, otherwise, it's like if you're getting like a stud who's in like their first or second year, like it's someone that you can lock into your lineup for like, obviously it depends on position, if it's like a running back versus a receiver or something. But it's someone you can just lock in for like the next considerable amount of years. But the only situation I would kind of look to sell, it's like, if those situations were like they start off the season hot and all of a sudden they skyrocket to like a crazy value because they're young.
Even then, I don't know. I mean, I'm always looking to trade players.
I mean, like for an example, like actually that might be a bad example. I don't know. I just like right? Here's I guess like because I know you guys aren't as high on him. Like when Kenneth Walker like jumped to like RB 2 or 3.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, how many times are you actually getting RB2 or RB3 price for Kenneth Walker?
I think you could have. Definitely top 5 running back price.
No, sure. I would trade. Yes, I get what you're saying.
Which
I would
brings me to another point, though. With these rookie drafts, right? Should we just be, as our orphan shitty teams, just be taking dart throws after dart throws on just running backs and value receivers wherever we can? Like, just literally just draft only receivers and running backs just to sell them when they inevitably get overhyped.
It's not a terrible idea.
Well, I think that's kind of what...
I mean, I think that's just the same thing with anything. If you're a rebuilding team, you just take best player available, right? That's what you're going to do. And then you're just going to sell on when you capitalize on a player. Like, that's just the way to build value in a team. And I don't think that's necessarily a strategy of avoiding quarterbacks, because I think you can do the same thing with quarterbacks. Like if you were the guy that took Justin Herbert at 111 in rookie drafts, you were able to sell him for 5 times that price. Like it's just
Jalen Hurts.
It's absolutely absurd. Yeah, Jalen Hurts in the second. There's a whole bunch of them. So I think you're just, as a rebuilding team, you have to use these draft picks as best player available. Go BPA. There's no question about it. Don't care if you have 10 million wide receivers and no running backs. If the best player on the board is a receiver, that's who you take.
Yeah.
The thing that I struggle with in these rebuilding leagues is that your draft picks are tough to move. Unless you trade for another guy's picks, and then that's how I'm getting my late thirds, all of my picks, unless it's actually a name to the pick, like a person to the pick, I'm always underselling. And I can't use I believe, our overpowered strats of pick swapping. Like, I am the king of pick swaps, and I feel you can't do it. You can't do it with these early picks. It's you don't get the value like you can with the late ones.
If I'm taking over a bad orphan team, I am never, like, unless I'm getting the craziest overpay ever, trading my own picks. Certainly not 2 years down the road, not next year. I'm not trading any of my picks. Yeah, to me, you're right, Frank. I don't want to just, kind of reiterate exactly what you said. But what I do think is I'm willing to move around other people's picks very easily, though. I'm very willing to go liquid and just start flipping picks like it's my job. Like, I'm willing to take, say, Jelani Woods, like you traded for 211. Now I'm willing to go trade that 211 for He might be more expensive than this. I was going to say Wan'Dale Robinson, but like a young receiver, right? And I'm willing to wait it out with that young receiver, or I'm willing to package that young receiver and a third for a different player that I like even more. And I'm just going to move up the ladder that way. And that's kind of how I want to operate my team. I want to just start flipping like all of these lower tier rated players and picks.
One of the things I also find tough with these orphan leagues is that I feel like you would think that you have more roster spots available because you're a bad team, so you don't have as many good players. But in reality, a lot of the times you're stuck with these clunky maybes.
Yeah, like guys where it's like,
well,
if
that's
they're on waivers you would pick up, but like they're barely making it on your roster.
I'll give you a perfect fucking example of a clunky maybe. Matt Ryan and Sam Darnold.
Trade them both.
I don't want to drop them.
No, you gotta move them, even if it's for like a fourth.
Matt Ryan, you might be able to drop. Sam Darnold, I would see if I can get like Sam Darnold's one of those players I would see if I could like Sam Darnold in a fourth for a third.
Robert Tonyan.
Move. Fourth round.
Just fourth round picks? Just get fourths for these guys?
I'm willing to, because at least a fourth is, you can then move that fourth for something else. You can trade
Robert Woods, I guess, is another one.
You have capital to that fourth plus, I don't know, another higher player. Like say you had Jelani Woods, now you could get 207 instead of 211 or whatnot. Like you're increasing value that way while opening a spot on your roster that could jump up in value. Say if it was like an Isaiah Hodgins or something that you picked up off waivers. Because otherwise, if you just have these maybe sitting there, they're just going to sit there. Like Matt Ryan is not going to shoot up in capital. Sam Darnold might, but you're better off just trading him now for a more flashy guy you could get off waivers later on. And you can move up in the draft, or you could, pick swap or whatever with what you get for him.
You think you can get a fourth for Robert Woods?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
There's some Robert Woods apologists out there. Bad knee.
There'll be some people like Tannehill will be
bad QB situation. Yeah.
All that. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna mass offer him now. Do we have anything else we want to talk about here?
Not really. I mean, I'm just gonna quickly list off some players that I want to pick up before the draft. Those players include Drake London, Deontay Johnson.
Yes.
I'll give you Deontay Johnson. Deal.
Okay. Rashad Bateman. I think he's coming back from injury. I think that's it for receivers. Running backs, I always want Jonathan Taylor. I'm going to trade for Jonathan Taylor. Breece Hall, if anyone's wavered on him, but I doubt it. Rashad Penny, I always want to pick up. But I think the quarterback situation, I think that's where you make the most. We've talked about before. Maybe we could dedicate a whole segment to it at some point. But I just think there's so many quarterbacks so undervalued right now in Lamar, Deshaun, Kyler, Trey Lance. I think all of these guys are just completely undervalued for what they provide, where Kyler Murray was looking not great and was still putting up 20 points per game, whereas Justin Herbert's having like a great year, Joe Burrow's having a great year, and they're just giving you the same amount of points and are worth way more. Like, yeah, come on. I just want those kind of guys, but yeah.
I mean, I agree on Kyler, especially with the injury. You'll be able to get him at a discount.
But yeah, that's all I had to add.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We shall see you next week with more rookie content, other content. We're going to be freaking pumping it out, baby. And thank you guys so much. Peace out. See ya.
Thanks, everyone.